Have you ever wondered what lurks in the shadows when you're not looking? The question hangs in the air, a chilling whisper that dances on the edge of your consciousness. We've all been there, haven't we? Alone in a room, the lights dimmed, and a creeping sensation of being watched. It's human nature to fear the unknown, to let our imaginations run wild with the possibilities of what could be hiding in the corner of our eye. It's the unspoken fear of every child when they turn off the lights, the quiet dread of every adult when they hear an unexplained noise in the middle of the night. We tell ourselves it's nothing, just the wind or the house settling. We laugh it off, dismissing our fears as irrational. But what if our fears aren't as baseless as we like to believe? What if there's more to the shadows than meets the eye? But what if the shadows themselves were alive? Imagine a house, secluded, old, and seemingly innocent. But appearances can be deceiving. Nestled in the heart of a forgotten town stands a house that time itself seems to have forsaken. Its timbers groan under the weight of countless years, whispering tales of a past steeped in mystery. The house, once a symbol of grandeur and prosperity, now stands as a chilling monument to a darker era. The house is a relic of the past, a tangible reminder of a time when superstition and fear ruled the hearts of men. Its once vibrant walls now bear the scars of time, shrouded in an eerie silence that belies the tumultuous history within its confines. The once bustling hallways now echo with an unsettling silence, broken only by the occasional creak of the wooden floorboards, as if the house itself is alive, breathing, waiting. Over the years, the house has been a silent witness to a series of unnerving incidents. Lights flickering at the stroke of midnight, doors slamming shut with no apparent cause, chilling whispers that fill the air, and shadows that dance in the corners of the room when no one is there. The locals speak in hushed tones about the strange occurrences, their eyes wide with fear and curiosity. Yet no one dares to venture too close, let alone step inside. The house seems to possess an energy of its own, an unseen force that permeates its very walls. It's a feeling of dread that hangs heavy in the air, a lingering sense of unease that sends shivers down the spine of anyone brave enough to approach. It's a chilling atmosphere that defies explanation, a strange phenomena that hints at the supernatural. And then, one fateful night, something changed. Darkness fell, and with it came an unseen terror. An entity, an essence, an invisible menace that had no form but commanded an undeniable presence. It was a night like no other, a night when the veil between the seen and the unseen was lifted, and the inhabitants of the house came face to face with an indescribable fear. The tranquil silence of the night was disrupted by the unsettling sounds of creaky floorboards and the eerie whispers of the wind. Every corner of the house echoed with the chilling presence of this unseen terror. The lights flickered, casting long, ominous shadows that danced across the room. The chilling draught that swept through the house was not of this world. It was colder, darker, and filled with a sense of dread. The house's inhabitants, once blissfully unaware, were now prisoners of their own home. Their hearts pounded like war drums, each beat echoing the seconds that stretched into a seemingly endless night. The fear was palpable, a living entity that clung to them like a second skin. Every sound was amplified, every silence a potential precursor to a new horror. The wind howled like a wounded animal. The trees rustled as if whispering secrets of the unseen terror. The inhabitants could only huddle together, their wide eyes reflecting the fear that had taken hold of their hearts. Their breaths came out in short, panicked gasps, each inhale a plea for dawn, each exhale a prayer for survival. The unseen terror did not need to show itself to sow the seeds of fear. Its mere presence was enough, a looming spectre that held the house in its cold, invisible grip. Every moment was a testament to the primal fear of the unknown, to the terrifying power of what cannot be seen, but can most certainly be felt. And as the sun rose, a chilling silence descended. The night of unseen terror had passed, leaving behind a haunting memory that would forever be etched into the minds of those who had lived through it. The dawn brought with it a deceptive sense of calm, a cruel reminder that the unseen terror was still out there, waiting in the shadows, ready to strike when the darkness fell once more. With daylight, the house returned to its deceptive calm, but the horror was far from over. As the sun rose, the once menacing house stood innocuous against the backdrop of a serene morning. Its inhabitants, however, were not fooled by the apparent tranquility. They had tasted the bitter tang of fear, and their hearts were still pounding in the aftermath of the night's terror. The house was no longer a home, but a nightmare they were desperate to escape from. The family packed their belongings hastily, their hands trembling, their faces pale with unabated fear. They had seen too much, felt too much, and they were not willing to endure another night in the haunted house. The once cheerful laughter and warm conversations were replaced by an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional whimper or stifled sob. But as they fled their home, they carried the horror with them. For the terror was not confined to the dark corners of the house. It had seeped into their souls, etching itself into their memories, casting a dark shadow over their lives. Every creak of the floorboards, every gust of wind, every flicker of a light bulb sent a chill down their spines, a constant reminder of the unseen terror. The house, now desolate and abandoned, stood as a chilling testament to the horrors of the night. But the story did not end there. The horror had only just begun. The terror was not merely a physical presence, but a psychological entity that had taken root in their minds. The daylight may have washed away the physical signs of the haunting, but the psychological scars were far deeper, far more insidious. The horror had not ended with the night. It had merely retreated, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike again. For the shadows are not just alive at night, they linger in the corners of our minds, waiting for the lights to go out. So what was this unseen horror, you ask? It was the embodiment of our deepest, darkest fears. It was not a ghoul lurking in the shadows or a spectre haunting an old mansion. No, it was much more sinister than that. It was the terror that exists in the corners of our minds, the dread that creeps up when we're alone in the dark. It's the fear that grips us in the dead of night, the monster under our bed, the whisper in the wind. It's the unknown, the unexplained, the unseen. It's the dread that comes from within us, not from without. So next time you're alone in the dark, remember this tale. Remember the unseen horror revealed. It's not the shadows that should scare you, but what your mind can conjure up in their absence. Remember, the scariest monsters are the ones that live inside our heads. Sleep tight.